Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of Kicking It with Cal. I'm your host, Cal Denicky, and today we have a very special guest. Ben Winterrowd is checking in from Clemson, South Carolina. Ben, how you been?
Good man, just living the dream, one day at a time. Great to see you. Long time no talk.
Yeah, it's been
Excited.
about 15 years or so. So wanted to introduce to the audience. Back when I was in high school, playing basketball and being involved in the sports scene, Ben was a student at Western Illinois University. Shout out to the Leathernecks,
And shout out
and
Leathernecks.
was covering some of the sports teams. And I was just fascinated by the fact that he gave us a lot of attention and was making videos. And there was one video in particular that I'll never forget that Ben made as the heated rivalry with Monmouth Roseville at the time was building. He was kind of, you know, throwing out things on the internet and putting clips and things together. And my friends and I thought it was absolutely amazing. So wanted to just see where Ben has gone in life with sports media. So I guess we'll get right into it. So you were at WIU at the time, and I wanted to know, coming from the Chicagoland area, how did your experience shape you for your career, and what was that like at WIU back in the 2010, 2011 range?
I mean, it was Western Illinois, I tell people all the time was like one of the best times of my life. My grandparents and my uncle, they have a farm about 10 minutes away. So I've been to the area a lot when I was a kid. I used to go to Rams training camp there. And so when I was going on college visits, I kind of had chosen broadcasting as what I wanted to do because, I didn't know my current job existed. And we'll get into that. But I did broadcasting because I still wanted to be involved with sports. I knew I wasn't going to play in college, and I played a bunch of sports in high school. And so I wanted to be involved somehow. And honestly, I met with Buzz Hoon, who was in broadcasting, and still one of my favorite people to this day, his family. And so I mean, I just felt at home at Western, and did the whole thing there. And I'm happy I kind of went during its heyday a little bit, had
Hmm.
some fun in Macomb, Illinois. But no, that's kind of how I made it. I didn't want to go too far from home, and it was like the perfect distance, and I had family nearby, so it was good.
Yeah, and it seemed like back then Western was buzzing, and things have changed over time, and towns go through their ups and downs. But I remember, being at that age and thinking like, there's a lot of people at this university, there's a lot going on, and it was cool to look up to people who were in college at the time that I was in high school, and you were definitely one of those. So, was there a light bulb moment when you were in school where you knew sports media was going to be your calling?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the broadcast aspect of it. I did a bunch of radio for Macomb High, basketball and football. I did the TV side of it for WIU TV, and did broadcasts for like Leatherneck Sports and things like that. Towards the end, I kind of realized like maybe broadcasting, it was fun, but it wasn't, I didn't have that love for it that I thought I might by the end of my graduation. I mean, it was all fun and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world because there's a lot of skills that I still use today, that I learned doing all that. And so Buzz was the one that actually talked me into looking into grad school,
Hmm.
and so I wanted to stay in Macomb. I didn't want to leave. So I was there 6 years
Hmm.
and did sport management for my master's. And that's where I kind of figured out that I like doing this communications gig and working in a media services, media sports information department, because you get to be with teams and you're kind of hyper focused on those, and you get to be involved with all aspects of athletics. So that's kind of where I settled on that. And yeah.
Yeah. And we'll get into in a bit how your experience has taken you to Clemson and all that. But is there anything that you miss about small town Macomb? I know it's been years since you've been there, but
Yeah. I mean, I miss Friday nights, like going to Macomb High games, broadcasting Macomb High with Kip Jones. Like that was
mhm,
always a blast. I miss being on campus at Western. Like it's just, college is a time that, you learn a lot and you grow up quite a bit.
mhm.
And you're not there, your parents aren't there, and so you just learn quite a bit about yourself, and you get more confident, I think, figure out what you want to do. But definitely miss, I miss Macomb Bomber games, Macomb Bomber basketball games. It's funny, like I'm one of those people that regardless of where I am, if there's like a rivalry or something, like I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure I'm going to hate that team until I die. And like there's a bunch of high schools in that area that I will just hate until I die.
Hmm. It's
Still to this
crazy
day.
because for me, that's what I miss most too, is just being a part of those games and riding and dying with your brothers out there and the rivalries. And, when I tell people I'm in St. Petersburg, Florida, in a bigger area, the Tampa Bay area, and a lot of people can't relate to what that small town, just everybody knows everybody, camaraderie, the entire town's in the gym, the rivalries, and that is something that I truly miss in just growing up and getting into the real world. So it's cool you bring that up because I was out there on the court and you were behind the scenes and it was truly special. So I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, where did your career take you after grad school, and what was a valuable lesson that you learned in those early years after graduating and going out to the real world?
So, going into my second year of grad school, and as that started to progress, like towards second semester, I started to really look at jobs, internships, all that stuff. I ended up getting three different interviews for jobs. One was at Appalachian State to be an intern. I mean, they're all internships. It wasn't full
Hmm.
time. Another one was Louisiana Monroe and I'll never forget Texas A&M Corpus Christi. So like
Okay.
three very different places.
Yeah.
But my boss at the time, Pat Osterman, who was the head of communications at Western Illinois, he had come from the Southern Conference. He was at Georgia Southern, so he knew Mike Flynn, who's now my mentor,
Hmm.
extremely well, and that's a big rivalry. App State, Georgia Southern is a big
Okay.
rivalry. So Pat was a little bit like, "Man, you're going to work at App State. Like, maybe I shouldn't have like put this good word in for you." But I ended up just kind of like never visited, sight unseen, just kind of decided like Appalachian State's going to be it. Like, I'm just going to go to
Hmm.
App and that's going to be it. And I'd never really left the state of Illinois before, but driving my, 97 Jeep Wrangler all the way to Boone, North Carolina.
Hmm.
Um, I think what I learned the most, and it was a 10-month internship, and it was for $10,000 before taxes. So
Wow.
after taxes, like not a lot of money. And I think what I learned, and that I still tell people is um, you know, not to be super hyper focused on the money. I know obviously people are in different situations and sometimes you have to be. But if
Hmm.
you're lucky enough to not have to be, the experience is just as valuable as trying to make a ton of money, especially when you're doing something that you love.
Hmm.
And I learned very quickly on there that I was doing something that I loved. I loved working with teams and young people and watching them develop, end up graduating. Like that whole timeline is awesome to me. Um, and I wasn't super experienced when I got that internship, and so I kind of asked my boss. I was like, "Hey, I kind of want to do this again. Like, has anybody done this 2 years in a row?" So for 2 years in a row, I made 10,000 a year to work multiple sports, every football game, every basketball game. And I lived in a studio apartment for 2 years, which is basically a hotel room, maybe smaller, where you just walk in, your bed's there, TV, bathroom in the
Yep.
back, not a lot of closet space. But it just all those things kind of taught me a lot about, doing what I love and the sacrifices you make to do things that, you want to do and things that you enjoy. And it's kind of led to where I am today. So
Yeah, and as you tell that story, it just all resonates with me as well in terms of where to take my first teaching job in small town Lincoln, Illinois, and one bedroom apartment, hardly making and it all kind of sounds the same, and I think that's great advice because you got to make your start somewhere. Now, did geography play a role in choosing between those three schools, or what kind of led you?
no, really it's just I mean, I've done my entire career on just like my gut feeling.
Hmm.
Like I've trusted my gut on almost everything. When I went to college, I was down to Western Illinois and Southern Illinois,
Hmm.
and it just, everything that factored in, I just felt at home. And so without visiting any of those places, like researching things and looking things up, and obviously Pat knowing Mike Flynn, my mentor, helped gravitate towards Appalachian State, but it was kind of just a gut feeling. And I would say that my gut really hasn't been wrong yet in terms
Hmm.
of like the decisions I made in my career and the opportunities, that I've turned down to stay where I've been and things of that nature. But really just a feel.
Yeah. And so going from Boone, North Carolina at Appalachian State led you to where after that?
So where I am now. So I
Straight to
was
Clemson.
Yeah, so I was an
Okay.
intern for 2 years from 2013 to 15 and full time for two from 2015 to 2017. And then I applied here in the summer of 2017.
Hmm.
And I've been here ever since August 2017 doing men's basketball. I've picked up men's golf. I work with our donor, IPTE magazine that we put out now 4 times a year. It used to be eight,
Hmm.
4 times a year, and I've been here ever since, and I've loved it. It's got that small town feel. Clemson does. It's only about 30,000 people, maybe, and
Hmm.
I mean without the students.
Yeah.
And so it's got a little bit of everything that I enjoy, and it's been awesome.
Yeah. And I know you touched on this a bit earlier with, using your gut to lead you to where you want to go and get the experience, but is there another piece of advice you would give someone in the sports media scene today? And what is different about coming up today as opposed to when you were coming up in the early 2010s?
Yeah. I mean, social media has certainly changed a lot and it's become a bigger part of the job now. And especially with NIL, that's become a bigger part of my job too. Not really facilitating any of that stuff, but helping the players market themselves and helping them, when we have to put videos together for deals that they might have and just assisting with sponsorship elements like this past year. Our selection show for basketball, the guys got sponsored by Hardee's. And they
Mm,
all wore T-shirts with different letters on it that spelled out Hardee's, and they all had their own
mm,
Hardee's deal. They posted, a few of them posted videos. I mean, there was a whole
mhm.
seating chart about who was sitting in the front row, who was standing in the back. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
None of that existed when I started,
Hmm.
10, 12 years ago. But I think really just like networking as much as possible because you never know who people know. You never know where someone's worked.
Hmm.
And so when we have students that are looking for jobs, I'm like, you have to let people know where you're applying. We know people everywhere.
Hmm.
And so I think relationships is probably the biggest thing that I still try to maintain and tell people like you have to be good at relationships, you have to network. And then I think just like for me, putting your head down and working hard. I think that gets recognized a lot. You don't ever have to be, the loudest person or anything like that in terms of leadership, but I think leadership a lot of the times is just by example, and that's what I try to do. I'm a little bit more vocal with my own students that help me with sports, but I just like kind of put my head down and keep it moving and
Hmm.
work my ass off basically.
Yeah, that really reminds me of some of the best advice I ever got was from a principal in a middle school I was working in. When I asked him, you always hear people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And he said, yes, but it's the impressions you make on the people you know,
Right.
which will get you places and help you get connected. So I think that's great. And hopefully someone watching out there can take that advice and maintain those relationships. So um, could you kind of talk about how Clemson got on your radar and tell about just your experience at the university with you being there, as long as you have, and Clemson's it's a national brand and kind of just that process for you with the university.
Yeah, so I started doing men's basketball at App, and I kind of just I wanted to be a men's basketball SID at the power level. As
Hmm.
the ACC, I've always been I'm obviously from Big Ten country, love the Big Ten. But there was something about ACC basketball that I wanted to be a part of it. And I was in the garage of one of our assistant coaches one day, and I saw Clemson had a opening that summer, August 20 or summer of 2017. And he's like, "Why don't you apply?" And I'm like, "Ah, I don't know." And he's like, "Well, what the heck are you like? What's the whole point of this then?" And I was like,
Uh-huh.
"Yeah, okay, you're right." So I just applied on the spot, and ended up, being lucky enough to get a job here. And the experiences here have been like nothing I could have ever imagined. We all help with football. We all, it's all hands on deck for football season. And getting to be here, so I got here after they won the national championship with Deshaun Watson,
Hmm.
but then being able to be here for the national championship with Trevor Lawrence and those guys, I mean, it's been unbelievable for that. My basketball experience has taken me everywhere. I mean, we've been on foreign tours to Italy, France, um, been to the Elite Eight a couple years ago, been to the Sweet 16 my first year. Just the amount of basketball success that Coach Brownell has experienced here during my time has been unbelievable. And then just all the people that I've been able to meet along the way. Clemson's super special and super unique. Like the family aspect is everywhere. I mean, from our AD to Coach Sweeney, Coach Brownell, everyone in the athletic department. Our former president, Jim Clements, had a massive or left a massive mark just on athletics for how much he cared about it. He was at almost every event, it felt like.
Hmm.
And to be on like a personal level with these people, like President Clements, you could text and get a response. And our AD was the basketball admin for 5 years, and now he's our athletic director. And we text each other after road wins, and it's stuff that just can't be replicated.
Hmm.
And everybody in the town and that comes in, it's a remarkable place to be. And there's a lot more. It's funny. There's a lot more kids from northern states coming to school here.
Hmm.
Like we probably added 13,000 enrollment since I've been here,
Wow.
and it's becoming like this. I don't even know how to phrase. Like I feel like they're constantly building things here. Like
Hmm.
there's under construction every summer with something
Hmm.
else. And so I think last year we had 64,000 applications for like 4,500 spots,
Wow.
which is like nuts.
Hmm.
And so I think just where Clemson is right now is incredible. I probably never could have foreseen how that would go. And, there was times where I've applied to other jobs early on here, like 4 years in, 5 years in. I applied to Notre Dame, which would have been my dream job. I mean, that was
Hmm.
my favorite school growing up, and ended up getting offered the job,
Hmm.
turning it down,
Hmm.
stay at Clemson, which was probably the hardest decision I've ever had to make, but like one that I look back on and I couldn't be happier with the
Hmm.
decision I made, and that was a gut feeling too.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. What went into that decision? Could have been closer to home, closer to
Yeah.
family, everything you ever dreamed of. But what was that thing pulling at you to keep you at Clemson?
It was a little bit everything. I mean, it would have put me 90 minutes from my house, which is like really hard to do. And it was just a combination of like, I felt like something special was about to happen with men's basketball,
Hmm.
and I didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to leave and miss that for, being with Coach Brownell for as long as I had at that point. And then I felt something was going to happen there.
Hmm.
And to be honest with you, I turned down the Notre Dame job, and Mike Bray left in the very next season. The
Hmm.
AD changed. They just went through a lot of transition at Notre Dame with my role, what it would have been. They haven't had the success. Not that that's all of it, but that makes it more fun.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
basketball now they've won 98 games since I made that decision, which is like the most that they've won in a 4-year period in program history. Been to
Hmm.
3 tournaments, won Elite Eight, and it was just like I just had this feeling, and I don't really know how to describe it, but it's been probably the most fun 4 years that I've had here.
Hmm.
And so I don't know. I've just like I said before, I've just kind of trusted my gut on everything, and it was right again on that decision. As hard as it was very hard.
Yeah, I bet. And from the outside looking in, you look at everyone loves March Madness and they see these teams making these runs. And so for the casual fan who's watching Clemson make a run to the Elite Eight, what do those fans not know about the work you're putting in behind the scenes with what's going on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so there's constant interviews. I mean, they're the day before, so like you have basically time on the court wherever you go. Like we were just in Tampa for the NCAA tournament.
Hmm.
Lost to Iowa, unfortunately. But we were just in Tampa, and I love Tampa. It's what a great area.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And so like the day before you have, an open locker room of media, you have actual like press conference media, you got like 30 or 40 minutes on the court. And so there's a lot just outside of the game itself that goes on. And then, obviously you play the game, and then there's days in between where you do the same thing again. It's just there's a lot of meetings, a lot of media. And on top of that, you're turning around game notes, which I do for every game, which are updated stats, updated miscellaneous stats, series histories, NCAA records, just regular game notes on, the last game, updating guys, where they are, where they stand in their careers. And, those are usually 30 to 40 pages. And so doing that between games, there's a lot.
Hmm.
There's a lot that goes into it, but when you're winning like that, you're just on like an adrenaline high. And so like nothing really matters. You're going to bed at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning,
Hmm.
waking up at 6 or 7 the next day, and just doing it all over again. It's a great ride. The NCAA tournament, there's just nothing like it.
Yeah. And I can just hear it in the inflection in your voice of just how special those moments are and how it probably doesn't feel like work at all when you're
No,
when you're doing what you're doing.
no, like hardly anything here really feels like work.
Hmm.
All my friends are jealous, they're like, Ben has the one job that he loves. Like we're all doing whatever, like, yeah, it's a blast. Like you just
Yeah.
can't top it.
That's cool. And I wanted to know, just working at a university, what would you say the pros and cons are? Because my dream as a kid was to be a Division I basketball coach. And yeah, I might be coaching 13-year-olds at the middle school, but I'm still having fun. But I wonder, like, with time commitment and where it pulls you, like, what would you say pros, cons wise from just being at a university?
Um, I think the pros are, that the highs are extremely high.
Hmm.
And all the fun times are extremely fun. Like, we just had George Strait here play at Death Valley, and it was probably the best concert I've ever witnessed in my life.
Hmm.
There's about 91,000 people here,
Wow.
which is incredible. And so some of those opportunities are just awesome. And everything I've really outlined are the pros, the relationships, being able to be a part of a team, feel part of a team still. I mean, that's why I wanted to do all the Macomb stuff back in the days, because I really just wanted to feel like I was a part of a team again. Like I
Yeah.
love that rooting interest, and you feel a part of it, like, and that's what makes the losses so low here. Like losing games are the lowest of lows. But everything else is such an incredible high. And so I think everything I've kind of outlined so far is kind of the pros. I would say the cons sometimes are the time commitment and the hours that go into it. You kind of always feel on call, as they say. And so I would like to be able to get home more than I do. I'd like to be able to spend more time like that I do. But I try to make as much time as I can, basically now until August, to be able
Yeah.
to take those trips and spend weekends with people and have people visit me, and be able to do all that stuff. But I'm a very positive person, and so I don't like picking too many cons.
Hmm.
But I would
Yeah.
say probably the hours and time commitment and things of that nature. But yeah, there's certainly 10x pros to cons.
Right. And seeing all of Clemson's success in sports in the last decade, uh, the question that I drew up that I was most curious to hear you from you is what's been a movie like moment that you've had in your career so far, and what made that so special where you just felt like, wow, I can't believe I'm here right now.
Man, um, probably winning a Sweet 16 game against Arizona. Like it's hard to describe. Like obviously I did not go to school here,
Hmm.
and after we beat Arizona in the Sweet 16 to go to the Elite Eight, and hearing our band play Tiger Rag, it kind of gets you emotional thinking about it. Like, and I didn't even go to school here. I just feel so invested in what I'm doing all the time. Like,
Mhm.
even watching like big time basketball wins at Macomb High to go into the Sweet, it's the same feeling. It's the
Mhm.
exact same feeling of just like pride in the student athletes, the coaches, myself, everyone that helps me do what I do, and just the school in general. And so that's definitely one. 2019, Clemson basketball got picked to represent the United States in the World University Games. So we went to Naples, Italy, and it was a bunch of, I would say, college age kids from every country. But I mean, we were playing kids that were 26 years old. We
Mhm.
had 19, 18-year-old freshmen on our team, and we won gold.
Wow.
And so, like, going through pool play and then rallying in a couple of those games to then play, we beat Ukraine in the gold medal game, and it's just like, obviously it's not the Olympics, but I mean, it was damn close, and it
Yeah.
felt incredible to see everyone standing on a podium, the national anthem playing, everyone's getting a gold medal. I mean, it's just unbelievable experience, with a bunch of people that you care about. It was like a 14-day, 15-day trip to Italy, and so I think, that Elite Eight, that, and then probably the 2018 national championship, that just felt like I was like, I can't believe I'm actually here. Like they won it in
Yeah.
2016, and everyone's kind of like, maybe Clemson will, they just kept it moving and restocked talent and had a bunch of guys, and so that was awesome.
Yeah. It sounds like every experience you've had gives me the family friendly feel and just being a part of a team and how, when you're at a university, you really all are in it together and probably don't feel like you're on an island as much as maybe some other jobs would be. So when the teams have success, that obviously makes it more gratifying for you. But it's really cool to hear because we all see it on TV, but we don't know what goes on like through everything. So
For sure.
um, I want you to tell me a little bit about the culture just of South Carolina. Coming from the Midwest, and what's something that you enjoy about South Carolina that people might not know.
I didn't know hardly anything about South Carolina. But I think the awesome thing about Clemson is that you're 4 hours from the beach. So you're 4 hours from Charleston. You could go to the beach and enjoy the Atlantic Ocean if you want. You're about an hour and 15, hour and a half from the mountains. You can go enjoy the mountains. You're 2 hours either way from Charlotte and Atlanta. Clemson's right on a lake, Lake Hartwell and Lake Keowee, is right nearby, and so like you get such a vast array of whatever you want to do. You're so close to all of these different things to experience and be a part of. And so South Carolina, the one thing that took getting used to is maybe one day of snow. And it, like, well, get icy and then it'll be gone by the afternoon, which is
Mhm.
nuts. And honestly, everyone here calls me crazy, but I do miss snow. Like,
Mhm.
I do miss it. And when you grow up with it for 25 years, 30 years, like you miss it.
Yeah.
And so I do miss that part, but I think South Carolina, I don't know if it ever got a bad rap or if people just kind of scoffed at it, but it truly is like one of the best places to live.
Mhm.
I think it's one of the most economical places to live. Like I bought a house in 2021 here, and it's only gone up in value. I feel like South Carolina is like one of the top places people are moving to. The
Mhm.
Southeast is great, as you probably know. I love the
Mhm.
state of Florida.
Yeah.
Big Florida guy. And so I think it's just like it probably was a hidden gem when I moved here. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it's just really got everything that you could imagine that you would want to do. It's not like you could just drive to Chicago or anything, but there's a lot of pro sports that you can drive and watch, and all my pro teams go to Carolina and Atlanta, so I try to catch them if I can. I just went and saw the Rams lose in Atlanta last year. That was great. But no, it's just, it's just a special, special state. I don't know how else to describe it because you can experience everything that you want. Oh, and
That's cool.
someone I didn't even mention that like deserves a shout out, Rouse,
Okay, Rouser. Yeah.
Rouser. Like
Yeah.
he passed away
R.I.P.
when I was there,
Yep.
but I mean, he gave me so. I don't know how many of you guys even know this, but like he gave me a Macomb High helmet.
Really?
Like it was an old one that was never gonna, it couldn't be used anymore. It was decommit, whatever they call it,
Uh-huh.
uh, decommissioned or something. And so he got like brand new sticker decals, put the bomber wings on there,
Hmm.
and then like gave it to me because he
He's a
used to do all
legend.
the stats and everything too. Like
Yeah.
he used to bring us like the loose leaf paper stats. He was taking stats to every game. I still have
Hmm.
his what he called the Orange Bible of Macomb High. I still have it at home. Still have the helmet at home.
Really
Um,
cool.
like it, Rouser, man, he deserves a shout out. Like
Yeah.
he was the freaking best. Like he's someone that made you feel like the most important person in the world.
Yeah.
Uh, and he was honestly like the glue that kept everything together. Like he
Hmm.
did so much stuff for Macomb High, and before that, Western Illinois.
Hmm.
But man, shout out him, man.
Cool. Well, I appreciate your time today. It's been great catching up, and I wanted to say thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Thank you.